Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking Washington Football Weekly here on Wednesday. Me, Sean Spencer, my guy over here, Will Kramer. And hey, look, there's a lot of stuff going on, but more importantly, 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. We talked last week about our offense. This week, we're going to go into our defense. But before we do that, there is the big elephant in the room that we all been talking about, and we're still waiting on. Is Dan Snyder going to sell the team? We've heard about different people coming in, potentially buying. We even heard that Josh Harris with Magic Johnson and some of those guys, they put in their bid. And we heard something else. Bezos withdrew from consideration of buying the Commanders. Can we believe this? A, but B, what does this mean for the bidding, the whole signing of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a bombshell. I think this also means that things are coming to an head, and in the May's owner meeting, they'll have enough information to move forward with voting on a new owner. I think we're actually that much closer to being there. Because we finally got some clarity on Bezos. That's always been, you said, the elephant in the room. That's always been out there, well, is he going to bid? What about him? And in the last couple weeks, I think we started to hear some leaks from the Snyder camp, basically trying to get him to bid. Yep. There was the report where they came out saying, well, hey, there's no beef between Dan, Tanya, and Jeff. They know that he's not the editor of the paper. He's not in charge of those articles. He's just the owner, as a way to say, no, he can bid. And I think what that was happening, the reason for that was, I think the Josh Harris bid is close to $6 million, but very close to it. But I think Dan was trying to get the highest bidder to come out. And I think we might have got the news that if in multiple reports, AJ Perez of Front Office Sports, he's probably been the most dialed in about this, has reported it. Nikki Javala and Mark Maskey of the Washington Post and John Keim, they're all confirming it. So it sounds like whoever the source is telling everybody, and the source is close to Bezos, to say, we're not in. We're not going after this. So, it's like we may be that much closer to Josh Harris and Magic Johnson, who was on the Today Show talking about potentially being the owner of the Commanders last week.
Ooh,
yes. And it's what we talked about, man, with Magic. He's so charismatic. You're just watching it. You start smiling. You hear him laugh. And when he smiles, you can't help but grin with him. It's like, oh, please. Oh, please, please, please.
Just come on. Please come on.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, again, we're not going to hold our breath till it finally happens and Dan Snyder gets out there. But at the same time, you're starting to see the steps being taken. You're starting to see things where it seems inevitable that this is happening. Now, before we go past this, I want to talk about Bezos, though, because we've heard, it's been widely publicized how Bezos and Snyder ain't buddy, and obviously we know that the number is out there, and Snyder's like, I'm not selling, and Bezos, and we'll see. Now that him being out, and even with him being in that whole consideration, is it me, or is this kind of seem like some of the moves that Bezos and the kind of back and forth with him and Snyder, doesn't that seem kind of Snyder-ish? I mean, are we, if Bezos was the guy, or would we be replacing one tyrant with another?
That's a good point. Yeah. A little. Well, I mean, it's no secret that there are people who work for Amazon that are not a big fans of Jeff Bezos.
Right.
That's also no secret that he is worth how much? He's over 100 billion, and yet he's firing employees. So there's I mean, it's like, is there a chance that they dodged a bullet? Potentially, we don't really know, but no, I mean, I don't think anyone could be as terrible, as much of a tyrant as Dan Snyder. Mm-hmm. But there's some question marks with Jeff Bezos, so where I wasn't team Bezos the whole time, I liked the fact that he would have money, but I had concerns over are we going to go from one bad owner to potentially another, Napoleon ownership.
Yeah. And the thing is, I feel like what we've done, especially as fans, is that the closer this becomes and the more real it becomes, you start to ask those questions, because all of us can say that we said in unison at the end of the season, we don't care if it's Ronald McDonald. We just need Dan Snyder out. But as you start getting close to that point, you start watching the tendencies of people. You haven't heard much about Josh Harris. In fact, Magic, like you said, is almost a mouthpiece. He's the one that's out in front of everybody, while Harris is kind of, behind the scenes, maybe potentially pulling the strings. But you always hear about Bezos. You always hear about what's he in, and not just with this whole situation, but with other situations. And we already are trying to rebuild the culture and rebuild our name. And it begs the question, do we want to bring that type in? So you're talking about, lesser of two evils in a situation, or let's go in an entirely different direction. Because go ahead.
I will say you talk about rebuilding a brand, rebuilding an image, and part of the Harris group that's bidding is the Mitchell Rails, who are local guys who started Sports Talk 980 for WTEM way back in the days, and they are very well respected. Mitchell Rails and his brother, and so and they're DC guys. Yeah. They've got connections, and so as you mentioned, if you're trying to rebuild an image, the Harris group appears to be a lot more attractive in that sense, to where these are folks that not only is it great to have Magic Johnson in the inner circles of the NFL, but you've got local guys who are well connected. And Josh Harris as well is from DC area, from Bethesda too. So you've got some folks with that. That's
Yep. What was that last part? Are you spinning? Can you hear me?
I'm getting close. I'm back. I think I'm back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the last part of that, it went out. We thought we knew. We don't know.
I'll repeat it. Okay. So I know we thought we handled that internet situation. But I'll recap what I was saying is with the Harris group, you've got local ties that are very well respected. You've got Magic Johnson, who circles in the NFL would love to have him on. And you have Josh Harris, who is a established owner of a pro sports team. And so with that, you're kind of getting the perfect set of folks, that local ties, business sense to take over a franchise. And if you're trying to rehab an image, you couldn't ask for a better situation.
Exactly. So, hey, we will, as just like the reporters, John Keim, all of them, they'll get it out as soon as they hear. As soon as we catch wind, we are most likely going to have a emergency pod, time, and jobs and everything willing. And we're going to come on here and break the news, hopefully sooner than later. But let's make it happen. Do you think this is something that happens before? I know you talked about potentially after the draft, but could this be something that happens before the draft?
I don't think so. I think the NFL wants to keep this squashed until after so they can make headlines. But I think it's coming soon. I mean, Jason Wright, the way he's been doing interviews, makes it sound like this is happening. Because he sees the business opportunities of a new owner. Or more importantly, he sees the business opportunities with Dan Snyder out of the picture.
Yes. Oh, yeah. People are willing to talk. People are definitely willing to talk.